Listen to your clients. They're telling you what they want. This is their dream. They can't figure it out, make it simple. And I'm really good at making complex things simple. And so I just started creating solutions that if you're not constantly hearing what they want and what they're frustrated by and what they can't figure out, then you're not as close as you could be. You don't have your finger on the pulse of what they would actually invest in next, right? And so I like to say, if you don't provide it, someone else will.
Hello, hello, hello. Wow, we have an amazing episode for you on today. I'm your host, Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. If this is your first time joining us, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell and hit that like button. This will be greatly appreciated in helping getting out this content to great leaders and great individuals like yourself. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Adriana Monique Alvarez. Adriana is the CEO and founder of AMA Publishing, where she teaches women how to start highly profitable publishing companies. She's an international best-selling author and has been seen on Forbes, Huffington Post, International Living, Addicted to Success, Elephant Journal, Fox, NBC, and CNN. Please help me welcome Adriana with Keeping Business Simple. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
I graduated high school, I was the kid that for sure was going to go to college and marry the neighbor and have a good life. And I was set on leaving this small town that I'm from. And I was a volunteer overseas and traveling solo in my 20s and seeing the poorest of the poor and seeing what it's like to discover who you are outside of your country, outside of your family. It was the most important things I ever did. I learned how capable I was. And it was when I got malaria in Africa that I returned to the US. I met my husband on a blind date, and I knew I could not approach life like a typical American. And so when we got married, I told him, I said, please do not get a job. Do not leave the house all day, every day, and give the best years of your life to somebody else for a guaranteed paycheck.
Wow.
Please, let's live our life together. Let's figure out what we have to give to the world. And let's make a beautiful life. And so that's what we did. We put our heads together. We figured out what we were going to do. Every single day, he likes to say he's the boss of him and I'm the boss of me. And so it was natural for me to be the front facing, go out there, talk to people. And he's all of the behind the scenes support. We're celebrating, I think, 13 or 14 years next month.
Amazing.
And we started our business in 2009. It worked out. Here we are. So I had 2 babies in 12 months to start off with while running a business. And that was its own baptism of fire. And we immediately left the US to travel the world because that was my number one dream. When I traveled by myself, I said, when I get married and have babies, we're going to do this together. I want my kids to see the world. I want them to have a wide variety of perspectives. I want them to meet people that live in different countries and speak different languages. I want them to taste different foods. And it was in our travels that I got pregnant with my 3rd baby, Nina, and I had a full-term stillbirth at 38 weeks. And it was one of those moments when you really figure out who you are and what really matters. My intention from that time was show me who I could not be without Nina. Because if Nina came into my life and I experienced this, it's for a reason. It's to crack something open. And I often use a line that I heard on a nature documentary my kids were watching. When a wildfire goes through a forest, there are seeds that could not have germinated without that baptism of fire. And what I learned about me is, and every human being on this planet, there are aspects of ourselves that could not have been activated and had it not been for those really difficult times. But the key is to realize it's here to serve us if we can find our way through the pain.
Wow. During that time, what did you learn?
I learned a couple of things. I learned that, number one, if I was going to sort through my own pain and grief, I needed time and space for it. So I created lots of time for me, whether it was by myself or sometimes with my kids and Derek, sometimes taking a trip together, sometimes being in nature. I kept the business going, but I really brought the business in. I needed times when I served other people, so I wasn't feeling sorry for myself and staring at my belly button. But what I also found is that all the unnecessary had to go. All the fluff, all the noise, all the filling in space, all the busyness, it absolutely had to go. And so I learned the most essential aspects for my happiness, for my fulfillment. I also learned how to show people how to love me in my pain. I find that a lot of mothers who go through this, it's a very lonely time. And I'm not going to say I didn't have aspects of that, but I was able to show people how to support me. And that made all the difference. When we face major life moments like that, we get perspective, like what's going to matter when it's the end of my time.
Yeah.
And I learned, yes, what I do in business, it's important. It's part of why I'm here. I wouldn't be happy without it. But also what I do at home is the most important work. What I pour into these two little boys of mine and the men they grew up to be, that's by far the most important.
Yeah. You said at that moment you had time to yourself, becoming self-aware with everything that was going on. And I know a lot of times I see people do this, and I think it's dangerous, is when trauma happens in our life and we try to stay busy to ignore it. It's like we trying to escape that pain, but it never goes away.
I know this is a natural response to escape, to avoid, right? And yet it's like you said, if we don't square up with this, it's not going away, and it's not going to diminish. It's not going to dissolve. It's not going to transform into something amazing. And that is what motivated me, because I knew this is not going away. I can pretend it's not there, but it will be there. And the biggest part of that was, if I pretend it's not here and I don't square up with it, my kids will. They'll be forced to. And for me, I thought they don't deserve that. I'm not going to pass this on to the next generation. I'm not going to be another one of those stories of, yeah, something happened to her. Not really sure what it was. She never talked about it. We have a lot of examples of that. And so what I decided to do, it's very difficult, I found, in grief and trauma to be present, because the past pulls us in, the memories, the regret, the rehashing what I could have done differently. And then thinking about the future, what would it be like if that hadn't happened, if they were here? And so what I found was it was really simple things. Like, I tell a story, we were living in Sarajevo after Nina, and I would take the boys to Old Town, and there was these little cafes that would serve fresh mint tea and little squares of Turkish delight. And we would sit there and drink, dozens of cups of mint tea. And we would talk, and we would look at it snow, and we would look at the people next to us, and we would watch the pigeons. And if you can really zoom in and find something that seems insignificant, it can help ground you in this moment. And if you can walk through this moment present and aware, I know I'm shattered on the inside, and yet there is this cup of tea in front of me. My babies are right here. There's a blue sky and there's a bird singing. It helps us face it over and over instead of escape and avoid, which always circles back.
Beautifully said and beautifully done. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Before we get into the business, there's something else I want to discuss with, you mentioned about your husband, and you talked about you guys came together and thought about, what you want to do. So did you all have, or your husband, did you all have entrepreneurial experience prior to the marriage?
No, we did not. We are like we should win the award for like the two most unlikely to succeed in business. He had no entrepreneurial experience, none in his family. My parents owned businesses, but you have to remember, like, people always ask me, like, oh, did you always want to own a business? No, I did not. I wanted to be a volunteer living in a place nobody's ever heard of and taking care of kids that nobody wanted to take care of. Like, that was my biggest dream. I never dreamt about business. I never aspired to it. The only thing that I could do was look at my parents. Okay, my parents, they're about this age. They've been in business this long. This is what they're good at. This is what they're not good at. And so I hyper focused on baby boomers who had brick and mortar businesses, who were horrible at anything related to the internet or technology. And we just created one solution for those people. And I went to a networking group every single day. I took someone to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I showed them, you're not good at this, but if you trust me with it, I can help you get more business this way. And my husband thought of all the ways he could support me. So my job was to see how I could support others. His job is to see how he supports me. And
Amazing.
then it all came together.
What were some of the ups and downs? I mean, what were some of the startup mistakes that were made?
Oh my gosh. Well, I made them all. First of all, starting in 2009 when the real estate market crashed and everybody was losing their house and not really that interested in letting go of their money, kind of reminds me of right now. A lot of people are sitting around holding on to everything they've got and they're kind of in that wait and see mode. And that's where people were in 2009. I'm going to wait and see. I don't think I should invest $3, $5, $10,000 in your solution because I'm going to wait and see how bad this gets and see how I fare. What I did at that time is I said, you know what, it doesn't make sense to market and advertise. I've got to get like face to face with these people. But what ended up happening is I built their trust, that face to face. We did incredibly good in our first year. But then what happened is I realized this doesn't fit in with my freedom, right? So if I got to go to Jimmy John's, mechanic shop every Thursday and hold his hand and walk him through, and now I want to travel with my husband, we got a problem here. And so I overestimated how flexible baby boomers could be with that. And so when I announced to all of them, you know what, me and Derek, we're going to go travel. I'm going to take them all the places I lived. They were not okay. When I say they were not okay, they were not okay. Wait, you can't come in and sit at my computer and show me what button to push. And so that was a mistake. I didn't look far enough, right? So sometimes we're looking at how do we get going? How do I make money right now? How do I get a handful of clients? But if it doesn't fit into the big picture of how I want to live, it could be a problem, right? We did this twice actually, because Derek and we did go travel. We figured out that some people were willing to kind of learn Skype back in the day. And then we did it again. We built the business up, we had babies, and we took the babies out to travel. And we experienced a whole nother kind of backlash. Wait a second, you're parents. You need to be responsible. You need to get a house. You need to put your roots down. You need to, And what I realized is that it's easy when you're building a business off of relationships and you're allowing people to see who you are. It's easy for people to think and believe that they have some sort of input in how you live your life. And what I realized at that point is I had to be better at going, I love my business. I love our relationship, and I'm absolutely dedicated to your success. And you need to know you don't have any say in how I live my life. You don't get to define what success looks like for me. So those are some of the major things. I had to overcome that people pleaser.
Oh, man. I mean, what was the results in that? Because I'm pretty sure there were some clients that were upset and said, you know what? Bye, see you later. I mean,
oh yeah. When we left the US with our babies, we lost about 80% of our business.
jeez.
Yeah. And what I figured out and what that taught me is we are so loyal to one definition, right? If you're a woman, you need to be like this. If you're a man, you got to be like that. If you're a wife, if you're a mother, if you're a business owner, if you're a combination there. And when you don't fit in the lines, it scares people, right? And so they're willing to punish you because that's what they've built everything on. If that comes down, they might start questioning things they're not ready to question. And so that was actually when I figured out how to free myself, right? That's when I figured out when I took my business to Facebook at that point and went online, I said, you know what? I got to be way more vocal about everything I believe in, not just what I can do for their business, because I've got to polarize and run them off before we get to this point. I've got to help them determine if they're in it or not much earlier. So that was a huge lesson I learned.
That is a knowledge bomb. That is amazing. And that is so great because I think a lot of the time we miss this and we lose ourselves in something that we have passion about. And, it's our heart to do. You wake up and you're not happy anymore.
It's true. You have to be so clear about that because it is. Most people, that's what happens. At best they own a job and they're afraid of anything else. I mean, on a daily basis, I get messages, I didn't really appreciate what you said online. I don't like that story. I didn't like your attitude there. I don't like this. I don't agree with your political stance. And you know what? I go, you know what? I get it. You don't have to agree with me, but I'll tell you one thing. I ain't changing a thing for
Mm,
anyone.
mm. How do you work with your husband and keep your family first while growing your business?
And I want to give like a real time example. So before I got on this interview,
Mm,
I was in the living room. I was, sending a few emails, coordinating a few calls, answering homeschooling questions. So here comes Sam. He's got a question. There goes Grant. And then Derek's sitting just across the way at his desk and he's asking me some things. And then this whole question of lunch came up, right? This like thing we do 3 times a day. We got to figure out what we're going to eat. And I love to cook. Derek loves to cook, but today was not the day. We were not inspired because we had too many things going on, right? It's like interruptions. And so we were like, what should we do? We got to find a solution. I said, boys, do you want to cook lunch? And they look at me like, oh, we're not ready for that. Mom, we're only 7 and 8. I'll go, oh, sorry about that. Okay. So what should we do for lunch? And they're spitting out different ideas. And we live in the middle of nowhere. So, trust me, I would be calling up Uber Eats. So my husband, who's a really good problem solver, he's like, I know somebody around here has to deliver. And I'm like, they won't deliver outside the city limits. And, we're outside the city limits. So he starts researching and he finds one restaurant and we like this restaurant. We didn't even know this and they're delivering. So they're going to be showing up any minute. And so my point is the way we keep family first is we don't exclude our family from anything. I don't exclude my kids from anything. When I walked in here to get on this interview with you, they both came in, gave me a hug and said, Mama, have a good call. Good luck with that interview.
Amazing.
So they know what I'm doing next. They know what Derek's doing on that computer. They can come in and out at any time. They're not excluded. We bring the school in, we eat together. We do it all together. Boys, this is what life looks like. That's how we do it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about AMA Publishing. What inspired you to begin this journey and why?
100% my clients. They asked for it over and over and over. And finally, I got the message. Sometimes it's like, I got to get slapped upside the head a few times. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, Derek and I were talking over breakfast, discussing all the times people came to us and said, would you help us with the book? And this was early days. And we go, we don't offer that. Like, we don't do that. We don't know anything about that. And they go, yeah, no, but we want you to do it. Can you help us figure it out? And it's so like all the things were there, but about the time right before I got pregnant with Nina, about 5 years ago, lots of clients were talking about writing books and getting published. And then none of them were doing it. And they were talking to me about how hard and complicated and I couldn't look away. I just kept going, well, it shouldn't be this hard. And surely there's someone who has a solution. And they go, well, we haven't found anyone. Do you want to help us find it? And so I had this aha moment one day, like it's right in front of you. Listen to your clients. They're telling you what they want. This is their dream. They can't figure it out. Make it simple. And I'm really good at making complex things simple. And so I just started creating solutions again, right? In the first year, we helped 125 authors. And I thought, holy smokes, we're onto something. People really needed another route. I had one client in particular who just kept asking me, well, how did you do it? And what's it like? And could you teach me this and the other? Same thing. I didn't get it. And then one day I was sitting in my grandmother's recliner and it was like, teach other people, teach women how to start their own publishing house, right? And I have to tell you, right? You're the first to hear this actually. Now the men want in on it, right? So I was in Scottsdale recently meeting with clients and somebody who knew I was there said, can I introduce you to my husband? He really wants to learn how to do this. He just retired, and I've had so many men come forward just in the last few weeks. So we have men in our certification now too. We have men that are producing books with us. We have lots of authors that are moving forward. And so I never planned on it. I just listened to what people wanted and here we are. Yeah, you just got to listen to the people around you. And I think this is one of the most important things, and it's easy to get lost in business. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I've been tempted by this and I've witnessed it. The business grows and you remove yourself further and further from the clients who got you there. And you get all this team and you get a process. But if you're not constantly hearing what they want and what they're frustrated by and what they can't figure out, then you're not as close as you could be. You don't have your finger on the pulse of what they would actually invest in next, right? And so I like to say, if you don't provide it, someone else will.
Absolutely. And there is a video store that 20 years ago they were everywhere on every corner. Everyone went there on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And something new came on the internet and wiped them completely out of business so quick they didn't listen. This is really good. And I think we stopped listening because we have our 5 year plan, our 10-year plan, and we're trying to stick to this plan. Although the world is changing, like for example, just 2 years ago, COVID-19 happened, and people are still trying to do the same thing that they were doing before COVID-19. Matter of fact, it's businesses working from home for over 2 years. Why are you trying to go back to this old way? Great talent leaving jobs and companies because these companies, with for whatever reason, and their reasons are valid, but the world has changed in the last 2 years, and it's not going back.
It's not. And if you bring up such a good point, I like to say it like this. Sometimes we're too smart for our own good, right?
Mhm.
Like it seems so smart. Yes, that's a good idea. That's a good plan. And sometimes good, smart, educated, have a track record of success people can go broke. We
Mm.
have seen it over and over and over. And it's that flexibility, right? It's that look at what is right now
Yeah.
and adapt and adjust, because if you do not, if you want to die on that hill, you can, but they're going to move on. And that's what we're being faced with constantly. I mean, I see this is basically what happened to publishing, right? Publishing is basically a handful of the good old boys club. They had it a certain way. They had the corner on the market. Everyone had to come through their gatekeepers. They had to jump through their hoops. They had to meet certain requirements.
Mm.
And now, right, Amazon and self-publishing totally changed everything. And so traditional publishing had no choice but to say, that's a lesser route. That's not as good. That's not as whatever, right? They had to, because they were losing control. They lost everything that they had held. And so, when we look at what's happening, and like you said, when it's over, it's over. It's kind of like when a new season comes around. No matter how much I like summer, when those leaves start to turn gold, it's over. So the thing that I tell people is open your eyes and ears and look at what's happening. And from that space, then ask what is yours to do. Make plans from there. You cannot stand, like you said, 2, 3, 5 years ago and go, what makes sense from that perspective? It's constant evolution. Either you're going to get it or you're not.
Oh, that is another knowledge bomb. What does it take to stand out online as an entrepreneur?
Okay, so this is going to seem really simple, and yet we tend to underestimate simplicity. What it takes to stand out is to be as you can be.
Mm.
If all you're offering is a service that looks very similar to Jane and Molly and Bob, and there's no you in the mix differentiating, making it distinct, then you're in a whole sea, right? If you lead with your incredible personality, if you literally let yourself come undone, this is what I'm seeing more and more. People in business can't keep that business persona on anymore, right? Thank goodness.
Yes.
The walls, the veils, the masks, all that armor is starting to shed, and we're figuring out who people are. What do you value? How do you live your life? What do you see for your children? What is it that you hope for our world? When we can actually get that out of someone, they stand out big time, because everybody else just wants to lead with information. But at the end of the day, especially with how the world has changed, we need to know, who are you? Can I trust you? Do I believe in you and where you're going? Do you have a vision, or do you have just a business? We have to be visionaries. We have to go, this is what I see for the future. Can you see it too? Are you coming with me? That's how you stand out.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Another knowledge bomb. And actually, you said that, and that's something I'm thinking about. I'm like, wow, helping people share their stories. Can best-selling authors fully leverage that title?
Yes, this is a great question, because some people do and some people don't, right? That title really, I look at it like someone might look at a college degree. If somebody knows they want to be a doctor, they want to be a surgeon, they have to get that college degree. That's part of the process. Other people, they're building up a resume for a corporate career. In terms of entrepreneurs, if they know they want to be on podcasts, if they know they want to speak on stage, they want to speak at conferences, they want to get in those top summits, They want to be in the best referral circles and all of these different things. It's just another thing that you're going to use, right? I was telling a client yesterday because she's getting ready to have a book launch. And I asked her, is this important to you? And she said, no, for me personally, it's not important. And then I asked her, and what do you want to happen as a result of publishing this book? And she said, well, I want it to win awards, and I want to create a movement, and I want to have events in bookstores. And she started rattling off all these things. And I said, well, then it has to become an international bestseller.
Absolutely.
Because if we go to submit it for a book award and you didn't become an international bestselling author, that's just one strike against you. And so what I would say is look at what you want to accomplish. What is your dream? What is your definition of success? And then plug it into every single one of those little cracks and corners that you can, so that it's not a secret, right? This is how you leverage it the most. You add it to your bio, you add it to your website, it's in your media kit. It's always brought up. And truthfully, it's like anything else. It has the meaning people assign to it. There are people who have 4 degrees and they'll tell everyone about, you get on Zoom and like all their diplomas are right here on the back. Like it matters to them. It's important and it's built into everything. I say, don't let that go wasted. Build it in and make sure that people understand it just represents your dedication to what you're here to accomplish.
Another knowledge bomb. Let's just talk about this. Is awesome. What is the future of publishing?
The future of publishing really comes down to nobody needing any permission anymore. We don't need someone to tell us your idea is good enough. We don't need someone to say, you've been accepted, congratulations. The future of publishing is really the future of life as we know it is shifting to grant yourself that good enough label. If it's in my heart to do it, then I'm supposed to do it. I don't need anyone telling me, right? So the future of publishing is less censorship, it's less gatekeepers, it's less permission. The future of publishing is actually the person with the voice, the story, and the mission leading the way instead of the publishers leading the way, right? I don't lead the way. I provide tools, support, a team, different aspects to make it easy for the author, the speaker, the storyteller, the entrepreneur, but it's really them that's leading the charge. They know what they're up to and they let us know how they can be supported in the best way. So the future is, if you got something to say and you know who you are and you know what you're here to do, make it happen. Don't take no for an answer. So one of the things that I tell people is it's easy to get caught up in writing the book because the book does demand so much. It's its own entity. And so it's easy to think when the book is done, like, celebration, I'm going to take a victory lap and a high five. And you definitely should, because let me tell you, most people don't hit the finish line, even when they really want to. However, the book and what the launch and everything it can do for your business starts after it's done, right? So we have to think about, number one, what's the community I can build parallel to me going through this writing experience? So I don't want to just close myself away in a cave and write a book. There's people I've got to take on the journey with me so that when it's ready to launch, they are ready, willing, and able to download it, buy it, share it, write a 5-star review, right? So this is what I talk about a lot. If you want to hit that bestseller status, create a community. And the way you create a community is you belly up to this microphone, all of the platforms you have access to, and you talk about your book, why you're writing it, why it matters, how it's going to help people, the way it's going to change the world in the next generation, so that people are buying into your vision before it's even available for sale. And then what I say is this, is that you take that excitement and that responsiveness and that conversation that you create on social media or your email list or whatever it is, and then you ask for a commitment. Okay, comment below, hit reply if you are willing to be in my launch team. I'm launching on this date. Would you be part of my launch team? And this is what that means. Maybe they're going to post on social media. Maybe they'll email their list. They're going to buy it. They're going to leave a review. So you outline what your expectations are of that launch team, and you mobilize them, and everybody gets put in one place. So at one time, with one button and one sentence, they know what they need to do right now to make this dream come true. Every single thing about a bestseller campaign and a launch, it's about being able to communicate to people what your vision is, why they should get involved, and telling them exactly how to support it. And by the way, all of these steps work really well with any other launch that you might be doing.
Wow, another knowledge bomb. Wow, this is so amazing, so amazing, so amazing. And the Lead to Greatness community definitely is going to be better because of the information that you shared with us on today. If someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
I would love for them to come to adrianamoniquealvarez.com. I've got lots of resources. I love to connect from there, and you can find all my links to social media and whatnot.
Wow, Adriana, this is so amazing. So much information that you shared with us on today, and we are definitely going to be better for it. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for creating this platform. Here's to going all in, using our voice and making a difference.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And if this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.